Join us on our Mexico trip. Our road trip took us to Cancun, Tulum, Valladolid, Izamal, Mérida, Campeche, San Cristobal de las Casas, Bacalar and Playa del Carmen. And this is what awaits you in our multi-part video about Mexico. Various fantastic beaches, lonely cenotes and also cave cenote. Adventures road trips across southeast Mexico and inside into Mexico's culinary side, cultural highlights from Mayan side to colonial architecture, an insider tip on Lake Bacalar and much more.
After a 1.5 hour drive from Tulum, we reached Valladolid. Already on the way to the center, we noticed that Valladolid is an authentic Mexican city. Normal everyday life took place on the street. Our hotel was not far from the main square and had a beautiful courtyard. Of course, we were already curious about the city and set off to explore the city on foot. From the main square you have a great view of the beautiful old church. And here we had found out what cyclist was all about. They were pilgrims who had been cycling to Valladolid from different areas for days, and with an unmistakable sound.
But now it was time for a Mexican lunch. As a starter in Mexico we always had fried tortillas with different sauces. Fresh homemade tortillas were served as a side dish with the delicious main course. In the evening, life takes place on the main square and just in time for dusk, the birds make an incredible noise here. But they stop screaming as soon as it's dark. It's very easy to make friends here on the main square. It's a place where locals meet each other and enjoy the evening with a few snacks. We found marquesitas particularly delicious. These are freshly made waffles with different fillings. We really liked the marquesita with Nutella and cheese. I know that may sound a bit strange, but it's really tasty.
Valladolid is a beautiful, colorful, historic, colonial and lively city. Most of the buildings in the city center have been beautifully renovated. And yet the unrenovated ones with crumbling paint exude a special charm. We particularly noticed the painted advertising that was everywhere. And that is probably the solution if something is no longer up to date. Just paint over it. In the evening we found out that pilgrimages are not only made with bicycles, but also with motorbikes and cars, and here too with a sound that cannot be overheard.
The next morning we made our way to the Mayan ruins of Ek Balam. We were there early in the morning and had the place almost to ourselves. There were only a few people there. We found it particularly nice that we were allowed to climb up the historic ruins. So we could get a very different feel for the incredible feat of the construction by the Mayans. And even if Ek Balam is not the largest Mayan site in Mexico, we found it absolutely worth seeing, especially if you can enjoy them almost alone in the early morning.
After our sunny cultural excursion, we now had a very special destination. We wanted to visit a cave cenote. The Cenote Palomitas is a bit off the beaten path, and we drove through some small villages. The thought of swimming in a cave in the semi-darkness might be a little scary. But for us it was an incredibly beautiful, extraordinary experience. We were able to refresh ourselves in the cool water and felt full of energy afterwards. And what an incredible experience to be able to see the stalactites on the cave ceiling while swimming. Just fantastic.
Of course, we wanted to visit more of the countless cenotes in the region. We chose the Cenote Oxman, which is not far from Valladolid. What a sight, as in a fairy tale. Getting up early was absolutely worth it. We had the cenote to ourselves, and we enjoyed it to the fullest. What a fun! The roots of the trees above grow into the water, and small fish swim in the clear blue water. What a paradise place!
The next day we headed to Rio Lagartos for a day trip. It had rained in the last few days and the road was a bit flooded. At first we found that particularly charming with the birds flying away, until we stood in front of the next flooded street. The road was more or less marked, left and right with a few sticks. We didn't feel comfortable driving over the flooded stretches of road, especially as there are supposed to be crocodiles in this area. And the water got deeper and deeper at the coming flooded street. But we made it finally and reached Rio Lagartos.
Rio Lagartos is a small, quiet fishing village. Here we headed to a fish restaurant of which we had heard a lot of good things. The owner proudly showed us all his available dishes on his screen, which took a while. Okay? Finally, we ordered fried rice with different seafood and were very happy with our choice. Absolutely delicious. From Rio Lagartos we drove to Las Coloradas. you can book tours to see flamingos, but we were lucky and could to see the flamingos from the roadside. What beautiful animals!
We decided to enjoy the rest of the day at La Caconita beach before our road trip takes us further west the next day. Find out more in part 3 of our Mexico trip. We visit the beautiful yellow city of Izamal, the vibrant city of Mérida with its colorful market, the beach town of Progreso, and the impressive Mayan site of Uxmal. Thank you, give us a like and subscribe.